Again, and drawing from that history, we're going to hear from you a bit later about kind of what 2012 looks like, but not based on 2010 or 2011, but going a lot further back than that.
That's correct.
Now, Blake, back to you, and from a on the ground perspective, we just saw some very interesting slides there of the different weather patterns. Tell us about your area in the area you cover in northern Arkansas and beyond in your territory.
Yes, sir. What we actually saw this year, we saw a lot of delayed planting and flood-prone region there that I cover. And this was very seen widely throughout the territory through the rivers flooding. What we really saw was a lot of nitrogen loss through people not stabilizing their products. We saw a lot of leaching, denitrification in the lighter soils throughout there, and a lot of ammonia volatilization loss. This really led to needing a very short time frame to get the fertilizer applied. So it really got people to kind of speed up their process. There weren't near as many knife rigs running this year. There's a lot more broadcast application. There was definitely a need for speed on that this year to get across the fields to get that out there for the plants. A lot more rescue in applications had to come back later on to get people through the season.
We've had a program with AGROTAIN called the Need for Speed, so it's funny you bring that up. Now let's take that from your territory to a wider perspective. And you and I talked about this before going on the air. It's really kind of, if we could boil it down, three main scenarios here that weather-related issues that make the nitrogen stabilizers very beneficial. And let's get the first one I would say would be that cold, wet season when you're trying to get the crop in the ground at planting. Yes. Cold, wet planting season.
Yes, sir. What we're seeing a lot with the cold, wet plantings is, a lot of people don't think there's an extreme loss in the cool weather, but what several universities out there have actually found is that we can be losing upwards of 30% of our nitrogen source in these cool weathers due to volatilization before it even gets taken into the ground. This kind of gives, by using our products, nitrogen stabilizer products we have, it gives the farmer a kind of an insurance program there and a little stress off his back during this time because he's in a time crunch to get that crop in the ground. And this way it gives him a little longer window to get that fertilizer applied to see how he's going to want to incorporate it or, let irrigation or going to have a rain to get it in there with this.
So if somebody is watching tonight and they came through that exact scenario, well, Blake, what AGROTAIN product should I be looking at then if I have the same situation this spring? 80% chance that I won't, according to Jed, but help them out there as far as a product they might look at.
Definitely, the three products that come to mind on this depends on your nitrogen source. I would look at AGROTAIN treated urea. It's going to give you a large protection factor on volatilization. And also look at Super U. If it's where you can get the product, it's going to protect you from volatilization, leaching, denitrification, and be able to be broadcast. Your third option to me would be AGROTAIN Plus in your UAN solution, which you might go in instead of coultering, you could dribble and get across a lot more acres with your sprayer if the ground's firm enough to get out there and do that at that time.
And it goes without saying, checking with your local fertilizer chemical dealer is a great place to be making some of these plants. All right, from cold and wet at planting to the dry soil, we talked about across Texas and across the wet areas, I guess, that were across the northern, but in that Texas area, dry soil at time of fertilizer application.
Yes, on a dry application, you got to look at the time frame in which you're going to get the adequate moisture to take that nitrogen into the soil. And you've got to look at needing a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch precipitation from irrigation or rainfall to get that in there. And I like to think of, it just takes a little bit of moisture to start the conversion process there. So, you're looking at if you were to get a heavy dew, even if a drought, it's going to start the process. And if you don't have something there to stabilize the nitrogen, you're going to lose it in a dry situation like that.
Mm-hmm. Which leads us to the third one with no-till, and where there's no incorporation even possible there.
Yeah, and when you're looking at no incorporation possible, you've got to think about that residue on top of the soil surface. The urease enzyme that we control there is everywhere. It's ubiquitous on that crop surface. And we need adequate rainfall and moisture to get that nitrogen source down through that cover on top to get it to the ground. So, we can control that there to get adequate rainfall over here to irrigation to get it into the soil profile, sir.
All right, very good. We're going to take our first break here, and we come back and talk more with Blake Gray and Jed Lafferty. And, in fact, we may put you the test here, Jed, and get some forecasts here as producers put their plans together for 2012. And you joining us later on the telephone, all coming up here. You're watching RFD-TV Live with AGROTAIN. We'll be right back right after this on Rural America's most important network. Stay with us.